Rank 2.0 has been in siege for almost a year, and there are still people that don't understand it. And it causes a lot of people to blame Rank 2.0 for the current state of the game. I'm going to dive into the explanation of how Rank 2.0 actually works, what the intentions behind Rank 2.0 were, and offer some ideas on how we can fix the current problems that we're seeing with Rank 2.0. So what actually is Rank 2.0? First, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning of the launch of Rank 2.0 and look at how Ubisoft has defined it and then what their intentions were. We first have to clarify two different terms, rank and skill. Rank is purely visual. It doesn't mean you're good or bad, it does not determine the matchmaking, and people equate the rank to their actual skill, and that's just wrong. But I'll touch on the pros and cons of Rank 2.0 a bit later after we go through this explanation. Skill is the other term that you'll need to know, and that is the hidden MMR, MMR standing for matchmaking rating. This is responsible for identifying your actual skill, and it is used to determine the matchmaking, but in Rank 2.0, the skill is hidden. And the skill is hidden for good reason, because then it's a lot harder to abuse the system in order to get easier matches. Your skill is determined by the true skill system from Microsoft. That's what Ubisoft used in Ranked 1.0, and it's based purely on wins and losses. This is the same system from 1.0 to 2.0 that determines your matchmaking. So nothing has changed from 1.0 to 2.0 for the matchmaking. Court Ross created a video on how Ranked works in Siege just a few weeks ago in September 2023, and he delves a bit more into the technical side of true skill and breaks down a Reddit comment to clarify how Rank 2.0 works. You're more than welcome to check his video out, but I will reiterate his most important points. The visual RP and rank that you get in Rank 2.0 is not tied to matchmaking or skill. And that to me is the most confusing part for newer players and for players that are coming back from a long break, is they see their visual rank, but they don't see the underlying skill that creates the matches for them. So there is this distinction between rank and skill. Skill is what is used for your matchmaking. That would be essentially similar to what your last 1.0 rank would be. So if I give myself as an example, my skill in Ranked 1.0, I was a consistent Diamond 2 player, and under Rank 2.0, I've been hitting the visual rank of Champion. And essentially all this means is that I am a champion of the Diamond 2 skill. So I've hit the top players in Diamond 2 just because of the number of games that I've played to get my visual rank of champion. There's a lot of people calling for Ranked 1.0 to come back, but there literally wouldn't be any difference other than it being easier to comprehend where your skill is, because the skill was your previous rank in 1.0. But we need to talk about some of the changes that was made with Rank 2.0, and that's going to be the fact that these placement matches were taken away, and the skill resets were also taken away. And this is very important because everyone begins the season at Copper 5 now, but that is, again, just the visual rank. The good news is that your skill no longer resets at the beginning of each season, and you might be wondering, why is that good news? Well, it now has less uncertainty over time. The more games you play, the more accurate your skill rating is, because it has collected data about the wide variety of players that you've won or lost to over time. Simply put, the more matches you play, the more accurate your skill rating. This means over time, the matchmaking of Rank 2.0 should be better than it was in Ranked 1.0 because of the soft reset at the start of each season. Your visual rank may fluctuate more from season to season because it is simply a measure of how many matches you've played over the course of the season. It still takes around 100 games for most Diamond and Champion skill players to reach the visual rank of Champion each season, so it isn't necessarily the easiest grind for most players. Rank 2.0 also removed the skill cap when squatting up with friends, so you can now play with any friends from any skill level and be in the same match. There is some behind the scenes algorithm to weight the games more towards the higher skill players to avoid unbalanced matchmaking, and this was further tweaked in Year 8 Season 2 to make sure that matches were fairer and more balanced. Ubisoft suggested in their initial post that they expect most players to have around a 50% win rate because the matches are meant to be composed of players all within your skill bracket. Another reason why people may appear to be a higher rank than their skill is due to demotion protection. You can be saved from demotion to a rank below your current division just by having more than 0 RP towards the next rank. For example, if you're moving from Diamond 1 to Champ, but you have 7 RP towards Champ, and you lose the game, you will lose the 7 RP, but be protected from falling back to Diamond 2, so you will now be on 0 RP Diamond 1 towards Champ. However, if you lose another game right after that consecutively, you will fall to Diamond 2 and lose the correct amount of RP rather than just 7. Now, we've got a frequently asked question from streams and to a lot of different creators, and this is kind of the last thing that I want to touch on before I move into the goal of Ubisoft when they were making this change. And the question is, why am I playing pros or champs when I'm in gold? Usually what the person means is their visible rank and not their skill. They've reached gold rank in rank 2.0, and they're playing against players within their skill level all the time. That is how rank 2.0 is designed. It is meant to put you up against players that fall within your skill range. Sometimes they're better, sometimes they're worse, but everyone is in roughly the same range. We have to remember that only 1.6% of the entire player base was champion or diamond in the final season of ranked 1.0. So if you've reached the higher end of plat, or you were diamond or champ in your last season of rank 1.0, that's only roughly 1.7% of the player base that can be matched up with. And depending whether you're on console or PC, the pool of players within your skill range is going to be so slim that sometimes the matchmaking has to go outside the normal range to fill the lobby. This was always the case, even in ranked 1.0. Nothing has changed on the matchmaking side between 1.0 and 2.0, but I think we're seeing a lot of recency bias. And I'll get back into more of the details on how rank 2.0 has been a good thing or a bad thing in just a little bit, but we need to assess what Ubisoft's goal was with rank 2.0 and whether or not it was successful. All right, so the overall goal of Ubisoft with rank 2.0 was to reward players for playing ranked. It wasn't a friendly game mode for most players, and before rank 2.0, less than 40% of all players had even played a ranked game in the last season of ranked 1.0. This number jumped up to 40% in the first season of ranked 2.0. There was a tremendous increase of ranked players in the first month of ranked 2.0, with over 50% of all matches that were played being ranked matches, and quick match dropped to about 22% of all played matches for all players. Therefore, Ubisoft succeeded in getting more players to play ranked. It wasn't a significant jump, but it was an increase nonetheless. So players did enjoy the alpha packs, background cards, and charms that they would be receiving as rewards for playing ranked and achieving a higher visual rank. In short, Ubisoft was successful with getting more players to try to play ranked and playing more ranked matches. Now, what is good and bad about Rank 2.0? I've mentioned some of the good things already about Rank 2.0, and that is the long-term matchmaking. The system can be easily tweaked to affect the visual ranks and prevent more champions, which has already been seen to be effective, but the long-term skill without resets assures that players who remain on one account will see better quality matches the more they play the game. There will be a more defined hidden skill MMR the more matches you play, therefore better placing you in quality matches. However, on the same line, we have the negatives of Smurf accounts. This was an issue in Ranked 1.0 and continues to be an issue in Ranked 2.0, but is less likely to be a long-term problem. Due to the collective skill MMR from all seasons, every game from this point on counts towards the account's skill. So even if a Smurf is playing 10 to 20 games a season, it will add up over the long term, and the Smurf skill will be adjusted much quicker to be playing higher skill players earlier each season than they would in Ranked 1.0. Another good thing about Ranked 2.0 is that the matches do seem to be more balanced. There are more games going into overtime. Now, what leads to each game going into overtime might be different. The fact that games are going into OT more frequently in Ranked 2.0 suggests that the teams are more balanced than they were in Ranked 1.0. And this brings me to my other point. I know some of you are thinking, my teammates are always so bad when I solo queue. How can this be? And I'll answer that with the negatives about Rank 2.0. First and foremost, because the initial skill of a person was based off their last season of Ranked 1.0 and the MMR that they reached, we're suffering from players who may have reached a higher rank than they should have in 1.0. There are many players that were boosted or only played in full 5 stacks that are now playing the game in solo queue, with the estimation that their skill is actually much higher than what their true skill might be. Or you might have players that are extremely gifted mechanically in order to obtain their rank, but they don't think about what they're doing, and it can often be detrimental to the team. I'll talk more about this in the section about how we can all work to fix Rank 2.0, You might also run into the issue of having a super talented player who took a long break from the game and is coming back to a higher skill lobby. They still have high skill from ranked 1.0 because there's no soft reset anymore of their skill, and they haven't played any games to decrease their skill over time. So they'll come back to playing higher skill players than they normally would have in ranked 1.0 because of that skill reset. The other negatives about ranked 2.0 are regarding cheaters. Ranked 2.0 has the same problem with cheaters that 1.0 had, but it's on a wider scale in 2.0. Long-standing cheaters who have been cheating for a very long time are still going to be affecting the players that are high skill, and high skill players are more likely to be affected by cheaters in their lobbies. The problem comes when brand new level 50 accounts are introduced into the ranked atmosphere. This means in the early games of a level 50 account, if they're cheating, they will be against players that are roughly a true skill of Silver 4. Even though the skill adjustment is better in the long term, in the short term, it means that cheaters are now affecting players in a wider variety of skill levels and not strictly the top 10% of players. Due to the balancing of teams, there are more cheaters that are ending up in games that go full overtime as well, which means players are stuck in longer games, wasting their time playing games that have cheaters in the lobby. We know that all the games that cheaters are in are reset regardless of a win or loss. If you beat a cheater, then of course you get to keep that MMR, or you get to keep the ranked points rather. But if you win a game with a cheater on your team, that game is meaningless because you lose that RP that was gained. The last negative about Ranked 2.0 is that the majority of the community doesn't understand how Ranked 2.0 actually works. I hope that I've clarified how it works in the early part of this video, but there's a lot of people, including other content creators, that don't fully grasp the concept of Ranked 2.0 when compared to Rank 1.0. Instead of pointing out other reasons for lost games, creators will say, Rank 2.0 in a nutshell. To some extent, it is correct, but it's not because of Rank 2.0. It's because of the shift in attitude by the players. Because RP losses are not as severe as the MMR losses from Ranked 1.0, players do not care as much as they used to about their ranked games. Players in Ranked 2.0 do not try as hard as they used to because there are fewer negative consequences for losing games. I'm partially guilty of this as well, but more so when I play against cheaters in the early season by saying, oh well, it's only 8 RP, and eventually we'll get that 8 RP back. The difference is I'm using that excuse and give up when it's against cheaters, but there are many players that I've run into that will give up after one round. They'll type GG, my team is bad, while not communicating on the mic, and they're just spawn peeking and dying every defensive round. They're sitting there spectating you rather than being on cams or on a mic and helping call out while they're dead. It isn't a Ranked 2.0 issue, it's a community issue. So what do we need to do to fix this? How can we together help fix Ranked 2.0? Bolo talked about this in his video when discussing the TDM meta and Ranked 2.0, and I do agree with him that Siege is not being played the same way that Siege was intended to be played. There are a ton of new players who weren't around when Siege first came out, so they don't know the beginning of the game and the intentions of the game. The reasons I love Siege and keep coming back to Siege is because despite operator lineups, maps, and setups being very similar from round to round, it is such a dynamic game that you're constantly learning from. In Year 8, there are still people that are learning new angles, whether it's vertical or horizontal, through multiple layers of floors and walls. This meta is constantly evolving. Operator gadget interactions are so diverse. The game is being balanced towards a meta that requires team play in the middle of the worst ranked meta of all time, where people rarely play as a team. One example is Smoke losing his shield. He can't be a one-man army, set up site, have a shield to defend himself, and have gadgets to deny areas of the map. They removed it so it forces another player to bring a shield for him, communicate with the teammate to set the shield up in the right spot, and on the competitive level, it is the correct move. But it's seen as silly in ranked and from casual players because that's what we're missing at this point. People need to actually start working with their teams. When I solo queue, no matter how few callouts I get in return, I'm constantly trying to play as a team. I will pick the operator we need to fill out the lineup, I'll give comms, I'll watch cams, I'll be patient and help set up and execute. These are all things that everyone should be trying to do. But people cut corners, they're lazy, they just want to walk in and shoot. That wasn't how Siege was intended. They wouldn't give you 2 drones on attack if you weren't meant to use them. Intel in this game is paramount and people rarely use it. There are so many times when a call from a drone or a cam can shift the entire round. takes very little effort to be a team player. Even if you're a 4-stack talking game to the one solo person, and they could be willing to help you out. It's little changes over time that everyone in the community has to make in order to help improve the atmosphere in ranked. The next thing that I've noticed is the arrogance or ego that many players have. People will hit champion in rank 2.0, the visual rank, and suddenly think that they're Bolo or Spoit and that they can get away with the same things that they do despite not being as mechanically gifted. Even Bolo and Spoit, despite acknowledging how good they are at the game, don't have the arrogance of some players I've seen in ranked. Drop the ego, it's a game, help the team, talk, don't spawn peek every round, and I guarantee that you will win more games. Lastly, take accountability when you make a mistake. Not everyone is perfect. You can admit you've done something wrong. And if someone on your team admits they've made a mistake, be gracious with them. You don't need to flame someone because they've admitted they made a mistake. At least the person is willing to reflect on what they've done and understand that they could have done something better in the round in order to help you win. This dynamic game and the different play styles of every player within it offers a lot of different opportunities for people to make mistakes. So before you flame someone for making a mistake, really reflect on the big picture of the round and determine whether or not that was actually the reason for the lost round. Maybe it was just a good play by the opposing team. Maybe it was someone not helping get the breach open. Maybe it was something on the other side of the map that caused a chain reaction that led to the lost round. Think about the big picture before blaming everything on one person for one thing that you probably noticed while you were spectating them, rather than watching a flank cam that could have saved the person you were spectating. If the community could come together, drop their egos, and start working with their teammates rather than throwing racial slurs at each other and muting random teammates straight away, maybe we wouldn't have such a big issue in our ranked games. Rank 2.0 will not get better if we don't try to make it better. But put the same effort in to win each and every match that you did in ranked 1.0, and it will still be a similarly rewarding experience. Stop blaming the system when it is in fact the players that have made the change to the game. Start playing Siege the way it was meant to be played. If you've made it all the way to the end, I greatly appreciate you sticking through. I hope that you've learned a bit about how Rank 2.0 works, and I really hope that you're going to start or continue playing Siege the way that it is meant to be played in an effort to improve the quality of everyone's ranked matches. If you enjoy Rainbow Six content, think about subscribing as every little bit helps, and I will see you all in the next video.